Was there ever like that thought when you were creating all of this that you would scale it into a full brand of itself?
I had some experience in startup companies, so I knew what it takes, or I thought I knew. I wasn't going to make all the mistakes I saw other people make. Yeah, I've made plenty of mistakes. And that's where my Amazon guy comes in. So when we launched 8 years ago at the National Hand Therapy Conference in Anaheim, the hand therapists were coming to our booth and saying, "Wow, this is great. Where can we buy it?" And we said, "Well, you can go to our website, bullseyebrace.com." And they said, "Oh, you're not on Amazon?" And I'm like, "Well, what's the difference? We're a website, they're a website." No, you got to be on Amazon. So I went home from that conference and immediately set us up on Amazon, and then found out about all the challenges that vendors face working with Amazon. Everybody knows they treat their customers like gold, but the flip side is sometimes they don't treat their vendors so good. And that's where my Amazon guy comes in. And we just started working, like you said, together for about a year. And boy, it's just made everything so much easier. And I get a whole team of people that are so easy to work with. We just got out of our biweekly meeting a couple hours ago, and it's just a pleasure working with these folks. And I couldn't afford to hire that many people. I couldn't afford to hire one person, a qualified marketing product manager. I mean, they're going to be big bucks, and if they don't work out, you're kind of stuck with them. So with my Amazon guy, I got a whole team of experts, and they're all doing their own little thing. And if I want to do something different, I just tell them, and they do it. It makes life much easier because, as everybody knows, Amazon is the big gorilla in the room.
It is this big thing, and it's also interesting. You talking about the idea of like not being able to hire like one person for like the price of an agency, which I think obviously is like the agency model. Right? You're working off of like scale and volume more than anything. It's so interesting, I think, at times to how that interacts with like all these different brands, and it's also like a skill level. I think that brings to the table for a lot of brands because yeah, you can hire a marketing person and they'll dig in and they'll spend 40 hours a week on your brand, and they'll know everything about your product, about your brand, about everything, and that's great, but they don't get any foresight outside of that brand, right? They don't get any knowledge outside of what they're doing directly for you. Whereas, like, that's one of the things I think that I almost always liked about the agency model, having been in, I should say, a little biased for the last like 6 years, right? All of that like cumulative knowledge of different brands you work on and everything, where it's like, oh, this is working really well over here. Would this also work for this kind of product in this category? And what are these different strategies you can kind of employ? What's the most frustrating aspects of Amazon, I guess?
Well, probably the one that really is a big stomach punch is when they delist you. And
Mm.
I'll be like, oh, okay, what happened? I'll open a ticket. And again, they'll say, well, we had too many customers say that your braces are defective. And I'm like, I hear that all the time, but I go to these conferences and I show them to the hand therapists who are super duper experts and they love them. So I know it doesn't work for everybody because it's for pain relief. So it can't work for everybody. But I also know the way customers act on Amazon. If they just write defective, then Amazon gives them their money back without any questions, and they don't have to fight or argue or do anything, and they don't even have to send the brace back. And so that's why they're doing it. They just want their money back. I get it, but people are kind of rotten and sneaky, but they're struggling too with whatever they're going through in life, and they see Amazon as the big rich company, but they're really hitting little guys like me. And now, when we occasionally get delisted, because it does happen from time to time for certain ASINs, I just call up Jessica and can you guys open a ticket? They're threatening to delist us again, and my Amazon guy takes care of it. And they know all the things, the right things to say, where I would be getting all upset and my conversations being recorded for quality purposes, and I'm just going ballistic. And it's just so nice to have these guys on my team to take care of things like that are just a nightmare.
The face you make when a support ticket is actually answered in 72 hours, only to see it gets escalated. And then, like, going through the entire thing of like the support, trying testfully, your ASIN is reinstated or deactivated, any of these, right? Support agent, we'll have a resolution in 72 hours. It gets to 71-hour mark and you are both you're biting your nails. Ding, a new email, notification from seller support. Thank you for your patience. We are still investigating the issue and we forward it to an internal team for review. Please allow an additional 72 hours. And it's like every single time, every single time. And it is that thing. It's like, but you can avoid that, right? If you like know how to the very first time around, like solve that problem, kind of like what you're saying, like our team with all the SOPs and all the templates and everything that we have of like every problem is something we've probably faced before. But you had said something in there that was kind of interesting to me. And it's this idea of customers who purchase on Amazon and everything, they can return it and they're kind of hitting it to the big bad guy Amazon who has, trillions of dollars and whatnot. And they don't realize who they're actually like affecting at the end of the day. I've always said that's so true because like one, customers I don't think actually care who they're purchasing from, right? The way that they look at it is like they're purchasing from Amazon. They don't think about the seller who's actually selling the product. I'll hear so often people be like, "What do you mean sell on Amazon? What do you mean help brands on Amazon?" Like a lot of people don't even actually realize nor understand that it's like Amazon isn't the one selling all of these products, right? Like they think it's Amazon, and it's like no, it's not. It's some random. It's same thing as going into a Kohl's, for instance, and buying a pair of Adidas. Like, yeah, you're not buying from Kohl's necessarily. It's very interesting, I think, in that capacity of like how people, customers on the platform interact with like sellers, and even more so that it's why I think Amazon strives to. It's odd that I guess they should say that they strive to like keep customers so happy, but don't try and keep sellers happy. Because it's this idea of like, yeah, customers relate everything back to Amazon. They don't relate everything back to the seller. So when they leave that negative review, they're not really hurting necessarily Amazon in the slightest, even though they may think they are, right? Like, no, you're hurting Jeff. Not
Yeah,
Jeff Bezos, Jeff Stearns.
slight difference.
I will say, I think that's a common thing. Every single person has faced is just poor. It hurts and it sucks. And like, you don't know why these things happen a lot of times. And at this point in time, I think even in my career, I've worked on probably over 10,000 different seller support cases, right? There's a million reasons why things can happen on the platform, and no one's really prepared for it to happen.
And that's where my Amazon guy comes in.